the lecture that we have for today is the Citizen Charter. So I'm touching upon the other aspect of your ethics, the other unit of ethics, which is about Citizen Charter, quality of service delivery, RTI, etc. Quality of service delivery, quality of service delivery, work culture, Citizen Charter, and RTI. RTI. Okay. So on a fresh page, first write about work culture. The work culture. When I look at the term called as work culture is basically how is the functioning in the government organization, how is the functioning in a private organization. So what is culture? Culture is way of living. Okay. How do you live in a particular work in place? How do you work in your office? It is about whether do you follow values like discipline, professionalism, are we citizen oriented? So here, if whenever you work in an organization, what are the ethos that you follow? What is the culture that is being followed? So when we look at good companies in India, like Tata's, Birla's, you have Infosys, the work culture of these companies is very good. They are customer friendly, they are customer first, then there is professionalism. Okay. So here, when we refer to the work culture, we are touching on this dimension of the work ethics. It depends on many factors. It depends on the kind of employees that we employ. What is the work culture of, what is the work ethics of those employees? It is also about the ethical leadership at the top place. It is also about the legal instruments that we have, the institutional reforms that we have. So in totality, all of these combined, the leadership, the employees, the kind of institutions that we have, the kind of regulations that we have, that in totality would comprise of the work culture, right? It is about a way of work. It is a way of working in any organization. Way of working in an organization. And what are the determinants? What are the determinants for this work culture? You have the foundational values. What are the foundational values of that organization? What are the aims and objectives of the organization? So what are the determinants, the foundational values, the aims and objectives of the organization? What about the procedures, the laws, the environment of working, whether the environment is a democratic environment or the work has a bureaucratic environment. So what is the environment? Whether the environment is a democratic, whether the environment is a bureaucratic. What are the technology that are being used? So what is a work culture? A way of working in any organization is called as the work culture. What are the determinants? What are the foundational values of that organization? What are the aims and objectives of the organization? What procedures, laws do they follow and they implement so that the work is done? How do you talk? How do you respond? Do you appreciate good work? Do you appreciate honesty? Do we stand by each other? Whether the environment is democratic, wherein any employee has a right to speak, has a right to question, or the organization is bureaucratic work environment, that sir, madam के नीचे तो बात ही नहीं करनी है, आप hierarchy में कहाँ हैं उस हिसाब से आपको बात करनी है, right? In many private organization, you would see that you don't have to refer to your bosses as sir or ma'am. You have to refer to them by their name. Why? The reason is the moment you apply sir or ma'am, there is a hierarchy that is created. Yes. So if there is a hierarchy and a superiority and the inferiority bond that is created, you will, a person who is at the inferior zone, at the inferior position, would not speak his mind. would not be comfortable in expressing his or her ideas. Usko lagega ki that is where I belong and I will not speak, right? And also one of the determinants of the work culture is technology. Why? Because technology helps us bring efficiency, brings innovation. So they determine the work culture in an organization. So if you actually can write about you can write about two distinct work culture. So let's say the public service. In the public sector, the public sector work culture is very different. It's not same as the work culture in the private organization. In the private organization. Why? Because in the public sector, the work culture is the main aim of the public sector is what? Is service motive. There is service orientation. That is the main aim. What is the work culture? The work culture is a bureaucratic work culture. And the main aim of the private organization, the main aim of private organization is a profit motive. And the kind of work culture is comparatively democratic work culture. There is a professionalism. There is professionalism. People come on time. They know their targets. They know when to deliver what. Okay? So there is professionalism in the work culture. Both of the work culture. Which culture is good or bad? Private work culture, public work culture, public sector work culture. Which culture? There are some positives in the public sector work culture. There are some positives in the private sector work culture. However, there are some issues in the public sector work culture as well as there are some issues here. So if I look at the positives in the public sector, the positives are what? Service orientation. There is a rule of law. It is about welfare. What are the negatives in the public sector? The negative aspect of the public sector work culture. You have what? We have elitism. Yes. There is elitism. There is hierarchy. Status quoist. These are the negatives. If I look at the private sector work culture, the private sector work culture, there are certain positives, there are certain negatives. What are the positives? There is professionalism. There is innovation. There is flexibility. Focus is on efficiency. There is focus on the quality. There is a performance orientation. There is performance orientation. What are the negatives? The very first negative is what? Greed and profit orientation. Excessive greed and profit orientation. There is a differential treatment on the basis of, yes, there is differential treatment on the basis of the status one comes from, right? It is about crony capitalism, misuse of the power. There is misuse of the power. There is capitalist mindset. Nothing else is important. Welfare is not important. Capitalism is important. There is capitalist orientation. So that is the issue in the private sector. So here, both of the organization, the public sector organization, as well as the private sector organization, have their own benefits and issues.